Hey, everybody. You are watching and listening to the We Are Rising podcast. This is your host, Andrew Benjamin, and I'm joined by a very special guest today. With us, we have Kazumasa Majima, who will be taking on Kleber Koike at Rising 27, March 21st at the Nippon Gaishi Hall in Nagoya. Majima-san, thank you very much for your time. Yorishiku onegaishimasu.
よろしくお願いします。
So my first question to you is for those who may not be familiar with you, tell us a little bit about yourself. How did you get into Kagutoki?
アメリカのファン、囲碁圏のファンの方は、真島選手のことを知らない人がいると思うんで、まず初めのベーシックな質問になりますけども、どうやってじゃあまず格闘技を始めた、そのきっかけっていうのをまず教えていただけますか。
もともと格闘技は好きだったんですけど、家の近所に森道場があって、ただもうダイエットっていうか、健康管理のために入ったってだけです。
I actually always liked martial arts, and the Mori Dojo where I train right now just happened to be nearby my house. So I figured I just joined them for my dietary reasons. Nothing serious.
Okay. When you say dietary, did you mean you wanted to lose some weight, or did you want to become stronger? Could you just expand upon that?
それダイエットのためってことで、ただ単にこうちょっとシェイプアップのためってことですか、それとも強くなりたいとか、すごいそういったことを考えてたんですかね。
いえ、本当にもうダイエットだけで、ちょっと太り気味だったんで、それだけです。
Well, actually, it really was for cutting weight diet reasons. I was kind of getting fat, so that's it. It's not like I wanted to be stronger.
Okay. So were you before you started martial arts? Were you very, very debu?
ってことはちょっとデブだったってことですか。
ちょっと社会人になってお酒とかすごく飲んでて、太ってしまったんで、ちょっと運動しようかなと。
Well, since I got a full-time job, I sort of had to deal with a social thing, so I started drinking a lot, so I became a little overweight, so I decided to go back into so-called training,
Gotcha. So when did you decide that you would become a pro MMA fighter? When did you figure that, I'm good at this stuff. I should take this of training very seriously.
じゃあその森道場に入っていつの時にいや俺結構強いからプロ選手になれんじゃねえかと思ったんでしょうかね。
アマチュアでちょっと練習してて、それから、アマチュアの段階でプロの選手とも戦える機会もらってたんで、もうプロの選手とも戦えるかなとその時は思いましたね。
Well, I started competing at the amateur level, and actually at the amateur level, I was able to compete against actually a pro fighter in amateur rules, and I was beating them. Then I started realizing, hey, maybe I can do this.
Mm-hmm. I've known most of all but one of your wins has been by submission, if I'm correct. So I'm curious to know. Yeah. Except for one, yes. If there's are you just a guy who focuses more on grappling than on the striking game, or tell us how are you so adept at finishing people with submissions?
そうすると戦績を見てるとですね、1試合以外は全て一本勝ち、つまりグラウンドで勝ってる試合なんですけども、どうですかね、試合のスタイルとしては意識してもう必ずグラウンドでフィニッシュしてやろうとか、そういったような考えでやっぱり昔からやってるってことですかね。
そうですね。でも格闘技はもともと山本キッド選手が好きで、パンチとかで倒すのがすごい憧れてたんですけど、いざ実際やってみると全然できなくて、もう一本勝ちばっかりになってしまいました。
Well, my idol actually is a Norifumi Kid Yamamoto, and I like the martial arts because of the reason that you can punch people and knock people out, and I wanted to do that, but when I actually fought, and I was pretty bad at it, so it just naturally went into the ground technique.
Gotcha. So with the your Rizin 27 fight coming up, Kleber Koike, another guy who's very adept at submissions. He finished his first Rizin fight back in a few months ago, and trains at Bonsai Jiu-Jitsu with the Souza brothers. What for this fight? Do you expect that it's going to become a grappling match, or do you think that because you two are so good at it, it almost may negate grappling may almost be negated?
今度の試合の話になりますけども、クレバー選手は盆栽柔術でね、ソーザ選手とかと一緒に練習したりだとか、明らかにグラップラーなんですけども、となると、これはもうどうしてもグラップラー同士の寝技の展開になるということを、 そう予想してますかね。
もちろんなると予想してますし、そこの勝負も僕自身も一番楽しみにしてるので、必ずなると思います。
Yes, I mean, I expect this to go to hit the ground, and I'm ready to beat him on the ground game as well. So I'm actually really looking forward to fighting on the ground.
Have you ever faced somebody who's who's as much of an exceptional grappler as Koike?
今までの試合の相手の中で、クレバー小池選手以上、またそれぐらいの同等レベルとグラップラーとやったっていう認識ありますか？
いや、ないですね。もう寝技になったら必ず自分が優位になれると思って、今までは戦ってきました。
No, no. To answer your question, no, I don't think so. I don't think I've ever faced his level of grapplers. However, every time I fight anybody, when I hit the ground, I always have this attitude that I can dominate the ground and win the game.
Also, it seems like his striking also looked pretty good in his match against Kyle Agawan. I wanted to get your comment on what you think about how he did knock down his opponent. What do you think about his striking as a fighter?
前回のクレバー選手とカイル・アドワの選手の試合の時に一応打撃でノックダウンを取ってるじゃないですか。でそのことに関してどう思ってるかというのと、クレバー選手の打撃っていうのはどういうふうに見ていますか？
やっぱりクレベル選手の打撃はちょっとリーチを生かして、綺麗なフォームではないですけど、逆に分かりづらい厄介な打撃だなと思ってます。
Well, I think Kleber's striking is not exactly a perfect form. It's not like a beautiful form or anything like that, but he's very good at utilizing his reach. And just because it's not really a normal technique, it's in a way, it's kind of hard to defend, is my take on his striking.
Where do you think you excel when it comes? What are your strengths compared to Kleber when it comes to fighting?
でそうなると、じゃあクレベル選手と、真島選手を比べたときに、自分の中でこの部分は確実にクレベル選手に勝ってるだろうなと思う部分がありましたら、それを教えていただきたいんですけども。
やっぱりテイクダウン、そこからの組でねじ伏せる力とか、そういう部分は僕の方が勝ってると思います。
I actually think I'm superior in so-called grappling power and also takedown power. And also once I take the opponents down in terms of ground control to just dominate the position, I'm superior than Kleber on that part of that department.
Now after this fight, you win it. What do you think you'll be looking forward to next in Rizin?
もちろん次の試合勝って、でその後は何を次に求めてますか？例えばグランプリ出たいとか、目標は何でしょうかね、今年
の。やっぱりクレベル選手は今、日本の中では、セーターの中でトップ選手だと思ってるので、それにとりあえず勝つことは一番の目標で、その後はやっぱりチャンピオンレベル、斉藤選手とか、そういう選手にちょっと一回負けてるので、リベンジしたいと思います。
Well, right now I consider Kleber Koike as a top featherweight in Japan. One of the top featherweights for sure. So for right now, for immediate goal is to beat this guy, and I can get back myself into the top featherweights category again. And once I win this fight, of course I want to fight the champion caliber fighter, which is like Saito, who happened to beat me on my first Rising fight. So I would like to get a revenge on that.
Well, it's interesting that he is champion. But the other question I'll pose to you is: would you be ever interested in fighting Asakura Mikuru? The reason being is that if you fight him, you probably could get a lot more attention to you than if you were to fight Saito. So I'm just curious to know: would it be more important to get that the more eyes on you for a fight, or to fight for the championship?
ここでちょっと一つ面白い質問なんですけども、確かに斉藤選手がチャンピオンですから、競技者としては、ね、チャンピオンとやりたいっていうのは当たり前だと思うんですけども、朝倉未来選手でやった方が注目が集まるんじゃないかというトレンドが今の日本の格闘界にあるんですけども、その注目を浴びるそういった朝倉未来選手の試合と、そのチャンピオンレベルの試合、タイトル取りに行ける斉藤選手はどっちが真島選手にとって重要ですかね？
僕はベルトが欲しいんで、とりあえずはチャンピオンを倒して、朝倉選手はもう有名なんで、ベルト取ったら戦うことになりそうな気もしますね。
Well, right now I want that belt. So my top priority to get the belt away from the Saito. And in terms of this Mikuru Asakura thing, I mean, he's already very popular. You know, that means if I take the belt away from Saito, then naturally I'm going to have a chance to fight that guy, is how I think.
Mm-hmm. So how many more fights do you think that you would need before you face Saito?
このクレベル選手に勝ったとして、その後何試合ぐらいしたら斉藤選手とやれると自分の中では思ってますか？
まあ、クレブ選手倒したら、もう僕はクレブ選手が一番強いと思ってたんで、まあ、次でも僕は戦いたいです。
Well, I actually think Kleber is the toughest featherweight in Japan. Therefore, if I beat him, then I think I should get a title shot next. So my feeling is that, you know, I don't mind fighting Saito immediately after Kleber.
Okay, great. And just here in terms of your training, are you doing anything differently training for Kleber coming up, or is it kind of the same? Your training camp's the same as usual.
どうですかね、練習、ファイトキャンプとしては、クレベル選手とやるということに関して、なんか練習内容を変えたりだとか、ちょっと違ったことやってるとか、そういうのはありますか？
まあ、やっぱり、まあ、詳しくは言えないですけど、柔術が相手なんで、柔術強い選手、練習したり、そういうのをやってますね。
Well, obviously, I can't tell you all the details, but since I'm fighting a top jiu-jitsu guy, I have been training against a very top BJJ, you know, athletes.
As we actually have a question from a fan who, from Daniel Dzubecki, our friend from Poland. He asks, how is your contract situation with Rebel FC?
今、そしてファンからの質問なんですけども、レベル FC との契約状況ってどうなってるんですかね？
ちょっと僕もよくわかんないですけど、一応チャンピオンなんですかね。よくわかんないです。
I actually don't really know the current situation, but I guess I'm a champion there.
You guess you're you think you're a champion? Do you have the belt? Have you won the belt? Do you remember winning the belt? Are you 100% sure?
本当のこと言っていいですよ。それでベルトって結局送ってもらったんですかねって。
いや、送ってもらってないんで、坂野くんからもらいました。
Well, you know, it's funny you asked. They were supposed to send him a belt, and he didn't get it. So another champion on the same show, Shuhei Sakano, the Japanese champion of bantamweight, since he's retiring, Sakano gave him the belt.
Oh, so you now have a bantamweight belt in your home now. That's funny. That's really, really funny. Oh, well, hopefully you get your belt sometime. Hopefully they'll send you something.
いつかベルトかなんか送ってくれたらいいですけどね。
So I learned that you are a welder by trade. I'm curious. So how do you become a welder in Japan? I know that there's rules here in America to become a welder, but I'm just curious now, how do you become a welder in Japan?
日本では今溶接の仕事なさってるっていうことで、例のこの前の記事でもこうずっと作業してて、そういった仕事をするきっかけってのはなんでそういう仕事をすることをしたんですか？アメリカでは実を言うとああいう仕事するのはいろんな資格取ったりだとか結構めんどくさいんですよ。どうなんですかね、日本では。
もともと格闘技がやる予定なかったので、はい、高校を卒業して今の仕事についてでそのまま続けてるって感じです。
Well, actually, I never had any plan of doing, you know, martial arts or, you know, MMA, obviously. So I graduated from high school, and immediately after that, I joined the company to do welding work. So I basically learned all the trade and skills on the job.
Oh, okay. Now, when I think of welding, I think of a lot of. If you ever watch a movie from like medieval century with the guy hammering swords and all that stuff. I'm assuming you don't do that. I'm assuming that you work on buildings and much more modern projects.
溶接って聞くと、ドラマとかだとなんか金槌かなんかでガシガシやってるようなイメージあるんですけど、多分そうじゃなくて、それは例えば建物とかそういうところで働いてるんですかね。どういったところで溶接作業をなさってるんですか？
工場の、大きな工場の中のプラントでタンクの中が多いです。
Actually, I work in a huge plant, and most of the time I spend time inside a huge tank welding.
Oh, okay. Curious, have you ever welded something for yourself? I don't know, is that even possible? Can you like, if you decide to like, I don't know, weld a sword or a knife or I don't know, some other object for yourself?
アメリカで溶接の仕事をしている人は、その技術を使って趣味でその例えば刀作ったりだとか、なんかお面作ったりとか、いろんなことをやる人がいるんですけども、真島さんはその趣味でなんか溶接の技術を使って作ったりしてます。
いえ、全くないですね。
None. I don't do any of that.
Okay, well, I was about to say maybe you could weld yourself a Rebel FC championship belt at this point, since they're never
そし
gonna
たら
send
もう
it to
多
you.
分、レベル FC はベルト送ってくれないから、その溶接技術でベルト作った方がいいかもしれないですね。
Just when the boss is not looking, just take some material and just start making the belt for yourself. Majima-san, I'm curious to know when last year when the pandemic hit, did anything in your life change as well? I don't know, did your job change or did your training change? I'm curious to know how the pandemic affected you.
そうですかね、山口県に住んでいると東京とちょっと違うと思うんですけども、コロナになってその練習環境とか仕事環境とかその生活とかになんかすごい大きな違いがあったりとか、ちょっと困っちゃったりとか、いろんなことなんかありましたか？
いや、特にはないですけど、やっぱり去年はスパーリング禁止の期間とかあって、それを超えて、ライジンに参加したので、ちょっと練習不足とかそういうのはあったかもしれないですね。
Well, and not really nothing big, but for example, last year there was a period that our gym has prohibited doing any sparrings. So right now I can tell you this, that I did fight for Rizin, but I had to say that I was a little bit less prepared than usual because I had a less time sparring.
Oh, gotcha. Now, presently, has things gotten, I guess, back to normal, so to speak, for training wise?
じゃあ結局現在は練習環境ってことに関しては、昔コロナ前と普通にもう戻ってて、そういう点は問題ないっていうことですか？
そうですね、もう問題なく、スパーリングもやってますし、いつも通り変わらずやってます。
Yes, in terms of my fight training, it's no problem from pre-corona, pandemic. I spar regularly, I train regularly.
Okay, gotcha. And one of the last questions I have is, you're the first person that we've talked to who's from Mori Dojo, and I'm not too familiar with them. Can you tell us a little bit about the Mori Dojo?
今回初めてモリ道場の選手を取材させていただいてるんですけども、ちょっとモリ道場って綺麗な感じで道場なんですけども、どんな感じのジムだかちょっと宣伝的に教えていただけませんかね。
やっぱりでも地方としては大きなジムだと思いますし、東京とかよりももしかしたら大きめのジムかもしれない。もう総合もできますし、筋トレもできますし、一般会員もいますし、プロレスラーもいますし、いろんな人が一緒に練習できる環境があります。
Actually, this Mori Dojo, as you can see on the background, is I'm there here, and actually it's pretty nice and big for this when you compare to any of the standard of the Japanese gyms. And on top of that, just because Yamaguchi's prefecture is far from Tokyo, this place is pretty big, so it has a good space to train MMA, good place to train weightlifting, strength and conditioning, all kinds of work. And there's a lot of members here who trains with me, and also they even have pro fighters and also even pro wrestlers comes here and train.
Oh, pro wrestlers. If you don't, can I ask who's come by? If you don't mind me asking.
山口県でプロレスラーが来るってちょっと珍しいと思うけど、それちょっとどなたが来られるんですかねって練習でって。
プロレスを趣味っていうかやってる方がいるんで何人か。一緒にグラップリングの練習とかしたりやってます。
Actually, there are a couple part-time pro wrestlers come to train at my gym here, so I do a lot of grappling work with these guys.
That's so fun that they actually come by to do grappling. That's so funny. That's really interesting. I never heard of that. I should say that I find that fascinating when pro wrestlers are they good? Are you destroying them? How is that?
アメリカのプロレスラーって今はあんまりその総合のジムとかで練習しないんですよ。でそうすると彼からしたらすごくちょっと珍しいと思うんで、ちょっともう一つ質問なんですけど、じゃあプロレスラーの方々とグラップリングやっててどう強いんですか？それともやっぱり真島さんだからケチョンケチョンにしちゃってるんですか？
ケチョンケチョンにします。
Yeah, I actually just dominate them and pull them up.
Oh, it's too funny. Well, actually, sorry, I take that back. One of the last questions I have is, you're not really a social media person. Is that just because you're so busy working and training, or yeah? Because I tried to find you on Twitter, for example, but you don't have the Twitter. I'm not so sure if you have an Instagram though. But are you a social media thing that you just don't really
あ
use a lot?
と、一つ聞きたかったんですけども、SNS の活動がほとんど見られなくて、Twitter で探してもいないし、インスタでやっと見つけてもほとんど何もしてないんですけど、それって真島さん的にはどういう考えなんですかねって SNS に関しては。ただ忙しいからやれないとかあるとは思うんですけど。
もうそう、基本仕事もタンクの中ですし、あまり電波が良くないんですよね、仕事中。工場の中なんで。でも見れるときは見てますけど、あんまり更新する機会がないですね。
Actually, as I said, I work in a huge plant and I work in a tank, and the internet connection is pretty bad there. So I rarely can even get on the internet during work. So I can't update so much. I can't even read so much. So it's just naturally, I just don't do too much social network.
Gotcha. Okay. So we do ask normally for fighters to plug their social media. I will skip that in this case. I will ask you if you want to give a shout out to any of your sponsors, anybody in your team, and as well as give you the last word on your fight coming up against Kleber Koike.
じゃあこれで最後ですけども、最後にもしもちょっとファンのメッセージだとか、なんか挨拶したいスポンサーがありましたらっていうのは言っていただきたいというのと、あと最後にじゃあクレベル選手になんかちょっと言いたいことがあったら、一つメッセージお願いします。
やっぱりファンの方には、あんまり SNS とか更新しないんで、こういう機会しかあんまり登場しないんで、知ってもらいたいですし、次の試合もクレベル選手とバチバチグラップリングで見せたいと思ってるんで、そこでも名前を知ってもらって、これからも活躍したいと思ってるんで、どうかよろしくお願いします。
Well, to the fans, since I really don't do too much social networks, this is kind of the opportunity is the only time I can really show who I am. And also, I just wanted to tell the fans that this upcoming fight is going to be a tough, hard grappling bout. So really, please looking forward to this fight. And クレベル選手に対しては何かメッセージが。
クレベル選手。やっぱり一番注目されてるカードだと思ってるんで、一番盛り上げたいと思ってますし、完全決着で戦いたいと思います。
And also, message to Kleber is that I believe our fight, out of any fights in this card, this show, is I think gaining a lot of attention from the fans. And at the end of the day, hardcore fans are going to be really looking at this fight. So I'm really looking to finish this fight. So let's go for the finish and let's have a great fight.
And if you want to watch Kazumasa Majima and Kleber Koike, it'll be March 21st at Nippon Gaishii Hall. Right now, there is no word on English or international commentary, but we can assume it'll be on the Rizin live service for now. So if it comes down to that, check it out on there. But if there's anything about it being international distribution, we'll of course update on that. But that being said, Majima-san, we appreciate your time. Taking your time to talk to us. We wish you the best of luck in your fight. It'll definitely be an exciting fight. I think someone's gonna get submitted. Hopefully it won't be you, but I think that's how we're gonna see a submission win in this fight.
本当に今日はありがとうございましたっていうのと、確かに真島さんのおっしゃる通り、多分これは完全決着一本で決着がつくでしょう。で、真島さんが勝つっていうことを望んでますので、ぜひ頑張ってくださいということ。
はい、ありがとうございます。
And yes, thank you very much again. Take care, and we'll speak soon.
はい、ありがとうございました。